Hello.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Play by Play's Q&A, where we're featuring a variety of artists in the entertainment industry. And before we start, I want to say that there was a moment yesterday during the Q&A with stage manager MJ Bernhardt when my mouth went one way and my brain didn't go anywhere. I made no sense at all, which is odd for me, yes? No, it happens all the time. And I just hope it doesn't happen again. But the one thing that does make sense is that we all should take advantage of our local theater opportunities. Getting involved with those experiences are an excellent way to learn, hone your skills, and have fun while working with others who love it.
Yes.
And Green Bay is one of those types of places. And our three guests today are proof of that. Two of them born and raised here, and the other one married Green Bay.
Another good way to
get involved in the Green Bay experience, where everyone here is just so wonderful. We are pleased to bring in with us today to discuss the artist's life, the actor's life, are Kelsey Denae, Elizabeth McMonagle, and Greg Pragel.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I hesitated. I wasn't sure to call you Elizabeth or oh my gosh.
It's a lot of names.
So great. And by hooky, by crooky, I'm not going to make mistakes today. I got my hat on, the green together. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it is so good to see you three wonderful people. In case, another reason why we have you in particular is because you were in a play-by-play show. And it's proof that you came back to your roots to do that because you love Green Bay.
Heck yeah.
I
Yeah, we do. Yeah, it was such an amazing opportunity, to return home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah, to have that support here, like, I mean, my family wasn't from here, but I felt the support from the community, just coming in as a newbie. And then, of course, Liz's family is like a quarter of the audience, so it spreads. The love spreads very quickly through the theater like that.
Yeah. Greg, where are you from?
Buffalo, New York, originally.
Ooh, yeah.
Upstate.
Upstate.
Yeah. So cold, Buffalo, cold Wisconsin, not that much of a difference.
And Kelsey, when you did Patsy Cline, I mean, that was such a seller too. I mean, I had no idea someone could have that many friends after being gone for a while, You guys, you are all amazing, absolutely amazing. And you come from wonderful families who are so supportive. And in this career, that's fortunate, isn't it?
Yeah, we've had a lot of support for sure.
How were you guys impacted by this darn pandemic?
Yeah.
What were you doing at the time, and how is it now affecting you? Married oh yeah. Liz and Greg are married to each other.
Yes, happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah.
Your anniversary was yesterday.
It was so lovely. Yeah, we had a really, really nice time.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years. Yeah, Greg and I were both in New York when the pandemic hit. And pretty quickly, I'll let you talk for yourself. But I've been really fortunate to have, I have a regular person job. So I've been really fortunate to work HR for this wonderful marketing communications company in New York. So I'm continuing to do so and working remotely. So thankfully, that regularity and my work wasn't affected as much, but Greg's definitely was.
Yeah, mine was a little different.
Very different.
I was teaching for 2 different organizations at the time, so I had a different schedule every single day. Tuesdays I was down in Brooklyn. On Wednesdays I was in Harlem teaching, and then I was in Queens on Thursdays. So I was all over the place, and I was directing a show at the time. And I just had a show that I directed open, and I lost everything. So like many other people. So I had to adapt. And I've been doing some online courses lately, which has been a lot of fun, because I was like, you know what, it's a reset button, right? Like if in a gig economy you lose your gig, then you don't just stop. You gotta find something else to do. So I picked up that.
Very, very wise.
Yeah.
Kelsey, are you as wise?
Am I as wise? Oh gosh, I hope so. I was on a tour, which has been suspended, at least right now through the summer. And so I'm home in Wisconsin, and have a little apartment, downtown Green Bay, or downtown De Pere, actually. And just using this time to, as Greg said, reset, get to spend time with family, which, in this industry is rare, very rare.
There you go.
Yeah. Is that your mom?
Your mom.
But yeah, getting to see family, and connect virtually with people, creating as much as I can. I'm trying to learn guitar, learn new things.
It's not much different than when you don't have a performing job, because now Liz has her, what they call, the survival job.
Yeah, right. I lucked out where I have a wonderful survival job that I actually really enjoy. So it's really, it has helped us. I know, like raise it to the heavens.
Yeah. Hashtag
Right. Yeah. So I think in the thick of it, I mean, we were right in the middle of audition season. I was still going out and still go out for auditions. So now that's just switched to remote video submissions and self-tapes, and trying to figure out, okay, what else can we, do, performing in virtual cabarets and attending classes and workshops. So it's definitely shifted, but it's been, a good reset.
A good reset. That's really a good word. That phrase that you 3 are using. The reset. Because that's what happens throughout a whole career. Even the people who have been in this career 25 years or longer, the older people from you guys, they say the same thing. You have to be able to go with the flow and reset. But now this, of course, is unique. Because it's affecting everybody in the business. So you use it. This is great to take classes, learn a new skill, learn guitar. Did you say you played before, Kelsey? Or are you just starting to take guitar lessons?
I dabbled. I play very, very, very basic. So it's very new.
Well, if you can add cello in there, I got a role for you. A guitar and a cellist, but
I'm on it. I'll take it.
And then we can get you back to Green Bay. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Look at I'm practicing already. You know, when I was your age and well, I was a little older, I think, and when I had my children, Carolyn said to me that she didn't want to go into theater because she wanted to have her holidays free with her family. Because I'm bad mommy, always gone. So Kelsey, you made a really good point about taking advantage of the time, any time to come back to the loving arms of your family, or getting together with friends, right? To take time for that, because you can really get super focused when you're living in New York. All three of you do live in New York, right? And it's busy. Yeah. So, tell us, how did you each get to New York?
Yeah.
I mean, did you just graduate? Did you just graduate from school and go there?
Pretty much, yeah. It's like if you want to go there, some people take a little bit because it's not cheap. It's very expensive to live there. So some people take a little bit of time after school to maybe go to a smaller city, build their resume, make some money, and then go out. Some people, I am one of those people, moved there with not much money at all. And you just, you make it work. My first 3 months living there, I was living in up in Washington Heights, and I was paying quite a bit of money for rent. And in a really sketchy way, I found out that I was paying more rent than I should have been paying. So it was not great. But basically, I had to save every and I lived off of coffee, tea, and water until I swallowed my pride and called my parents and asked for a little bit of money for groceries. But you do what you can. But ever since then, I've just found, as Liz said, part-time job. A lot of us, actually all three of us, have worked in catering and events. And that was basically together. But that for me was the best part-time job you could have because it's really flexible. It pays really well. They're really understanding when you have auditions or when you book a gig. And so that was the job I always went back to just for those reasons and made it work to do what I love.
Yeah. Yep. That's really great. How about you got the married couple?
Again, a little different. In Buffalo, a tour of Sesame Street Live came through town and did open auditions, right? So I graduated school and I was performing in a chorus line at the time. This is back in my intermediate dancer days. No, not dancer. I'm never going to call myself a dancer. Intermediate dancer days. I was the one with the head down, during the doing this in the beginning of chorus line. So I was in the cut group. It's like this. So I finished, or I was about to finish that show, and the tour called and said they just had somebody hurt in their rehearsal process. They flew me out to South Dakota. I learned the show in 3 days when they had been doing it for 3 weeks. And then I went on a 4-month tour overseas with them. And ever since then, I did 8 years on the road of different tours. I did a tour of Diary of Anne Frank with Barter Theater, and I did some tours through Prather, and then finally ended up meeting Liz on the Fiddler on the Roof national tour. So, and then after that, I just wanted some more schooling.
Oh, there we are.
Muddle and huddle.
I think my hair is just as long as
that. I think my beard is.
I know, right?
Did you say the Barter Theater?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Barter and
their artistic director, Rick Rose.
I love Rick.
Lena, Wisconsin.
Oh, really? I didn't know he was from Wisconsin.
It
all comes back to here. It all comes
Wisconsin proud. I mean,
yeah.
It's just
He's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and they're still going strong right now, which is great.
He graduated from St. Norbert College.
Oh my gosh.
where we performed.
Hello.
Hello.
You're all special.
Small
I
world.
love it.
And then Liz, how did you get there?
Well, I graduated from Stevens Point, from the University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point, same place Kelsey went to school. And so I graduated, and the day after, we were on a flight out to New York, and I had my 2 suitcases. I was ready to conquer the world. They have a really great program where they set us up with a senior showcase. So we went to New York and were able to audition for casting directors and agents and managers, and really start immediately networking, which was incredible. And so I just decided that trip was going to be, why waste money on another flight when they're already going there? Why don't we just stay? So, like Kelsey, I think I immediately found some temporary work and was doing a lot of catering and a lot of auditioning, going like gangbusters. And, you know, yeah, it was a really crazy, rough year of not getting anything. And then I booked my first gig. So it was, and then kind of started the, yeah.
Persistence pays off.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I went out to New York,
it really does.
yeah, years back, they didn't have those, what did you call them? Senior
Showcases.
showcases.
Yeah.
A relatively new thing, I suppose, in the last decade or so.
Mhm.
But in 30 years when I went, that didn't exist. So that's really a great thing to latch onto, right? To be part of.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful that these programs, like both being from Stevens Point, I mean, and I know I've worked with other graduates of Point. It is a terrific program.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. I'm kind of a cheerleader for
it's a hidden gem.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have proven that the actor's daily life consists of a part-time job.
Yeah.
Prepping and studying for auditions. Auditions is another part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you have to go away. When you get a gig, it'll take you away. And that gig also is a part-time job because it's not going to last forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more about learning how to always come back to zero and know that that's okay. That's a thing that happens, just like always being ready. Like I think the best thing to tell actors to do is always be prepared for that opportunity and be ready, because you're always going to go back to zero and you're going to need to be ready just, from the same as when you started. So
Yeah. Now, your first professional gig then was the Sesame Street, Greg?
Yeah. They were paying me to travel the world and be in a costume, and I was like, sure, if that sounds awesome.
Great.
Let's do it.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Really awesome. Kelsey, now I met you doing a show at the Fireside. That's where we met. What was your first professional gig?
Yeah. So I guess my definition of professional gig would be like something you get paid for, right? So the first,
Here's hoping.
the first professional gig that I ever had was as a singer-dancer at Valley Fair in Shakopee, Minnesota. It's a Cedar Fair park, so Cedar Point in Ohio and Six Flags, California, which was really fun. Fun fact, my mom was a singer at Cedar Point in Ohio when she was in...
Well,
that was fun. That was 2 of my friends from college and meet some other people. And then actually, gig that I had was the next summer. Another place that Liz worked was a place called Quisisana up in Maine. And the best way to describe it is like dirty dancing. So you have a day job and you perform at night. And I did that for about 4 years. But my first professional gig was actually in Hilton Head. the summer after I graduated college. I did Shout the Mod musical.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, which was very fun.
And then how did you get that? If you were just out of school?
So I actually, one of our faculty, he retired at the end of my junior year, and the gentleman who came semester of my senior year, this show that I think that you would be really right for. There's 2 roles that I think you'd be good for, but like, let's look at the material and like just pick one and submit. I'd love to like create a video and take it with me to New York to show the director. And I was like, okay, cool. So we put together a video, and he took it with him, and the director, it was kind of a fun series, but he liked it. And then he needed some like, cause I played the blue girl, and she's supposed to be like the next Twiggy, model. She wants to be a model and a Bond girl. And, so he needed some like full body shots. So I took a bunch of pictures in like a leotard and heels and sent them in, and ended up booking it. When for like 2 weeks, and then when reached my equity card through that show as well, which was very, very, very fortunate for me.
Yeah.
I think that was another question.
That was another question, was how getting your equity card has changed your life. But think about that.
That's a loaded question there.
We're needing 4 more hours.
How about you, Liz? Your first paid gig.
Yeah. So I was auditioning like crazy in New York for the first year and a half, and kept getting callbacks, but never booked it. And my friend Reese had worked at Arizona Broadway Theater in Phoenix, Arizona, and he got me in contact and was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of this show, Baby? I think you'd be really good in it." And I was like, "Yeah, we did it in college. I was Pam, and would love to do it again." And so they were holding their auditions like that day. So I ran, it's like, "I'll audition. That's great. Let's do it." And so I auditioned and got called back for Lizzie, and then booked Lizzie. And it was my first professional contract, was booking Lizzie as Lizzie Fields at Arizona Broadway Theater.
Oh, wow. That's what I like about you, is that when you've auditioned for us, even with the Fireside in New York, when we have auditions there, you always come up, you come in so happy and gung-ho, and then you don't, you just get thank you. And I'm sure Kelsey and Greg would appreciate all this too, but you said, "Well, that's okay. Mary, it was good to see you."
Here's the thing. I always appreciated, and we continue to hear this statement, but I think you can't go in thinking that you'll book the job, right? Like, there's so many different variables, and there's only so much. Like, my mantra is like, what can you control? Only work on the things that can I control how well I do and how well I'm prepared? Yeah. Can I control, how I'm setting myself up for success? Can I control my energy, or like, whatever, my like presence? Great. But after that, I go in, I do a good job. I see a friend, thank God, like in the room, and it's wonderful. And then I leave. And that's it. And maybe I don't. The person next to me is probably as talented, if not more talented, and there's just so many different variables. So I feel like, why not go in with, energy and happiness, and prepared. And that's all I can, really do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and take this time. It's like, this time is taking everything away.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you had to look back on it, it's like, those are moments that you get the opportunity to perform, right?
Yeah.
So why would you go in like kind of jaded or just like, I don't really want to be here today? Then don't go.
Yeah.
Like,
if it seems like work, you know what I mean? Like if it's feeling like work and if it's feeling like a job,
take a break.
Then maybe you need the day off.
Yeah.
Take a second for yourself. Maybe you don't go in there into the room if the next 20 people want it way more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't take opportunities away from people who really want it. So
yeah. So you guys know, you just said that very important thing that people should be aware of as actors is that there is a lot of disappointment.
Holy mackerel.
You have to be able to deal with criticism and disappointment because you will get more of that for a while.
Yeah.
I hope it changes. But now, like right now, there's incredible disappointment that there's no theater. But you know how to deal. But you guys have talked about how you're dealing with this, and it's very positive and reassuring.
Yeah, I mean, not all days are sunshine and rainbows, right? But
right, I'm not calling you a saint by any
I wouldn't. You know me too well.
Jeez. So when you now, how has being an equity member changed your existence, your look on theater?
Yeah.
I mean, for me at least, I'll just speak to, my own journey with it, is that it gives the opportunity to get into those bigger rooms and get seen by those casting directors that you were hoping to be seen by, that you want to keep showing your face. And, this whole business is about connection, and it's about like making those honest, truthful connections with different people and showing them your talent, your work, and what you can offer them. The equity union gives you that opportunity to get in those rooms in front of those people that you may have had a much more difficult time getting in front of them. However, right now, it's a great opportunity for people to get on their cameras, make a self-tape, or there's tons of casting directors that are doing live open auditions. I mean, I've had a couple already, these past couple months, just because they're looking, we're all adapting. It's not like we know what we're doing or they know what we're all figuring this out together. So now is an opportunity where we're all on the same board and you can really present yourself for the first time to somebody, So again, opportunities, knowing when they're there and how to take them.
Yeah. For sure. So I got my card. Hi, Jacob.
Somewhat a majority of us.
Oh, this is so fun. I got my card in 2015 after working pretty steadily and almost consistently from 2011 to 2015, and got my card. It was a right place, right time. Amazing opportunity, and one that I will never forget. But it was for Les Mis at the Maltz Jupiter Theater, and they didn't know me. I went in because I was in Florida and had just finished a run as Eponine, and was doing another show for Pragel Entertainment Group. And so I was like, it's not that far of a drive. Why don't I'll go and just see what happens. I auditioned at 11 a.m. and by 6 o'clock, I got the call with the offer with my card. I know, like, it is just, I know I am incredibly lucky. And it was, Mark Martino, Andrew Cato, thank you. So for me, it changed the ability to not or I guess giving more ability for me to choose what I go to and choose and be more selective about the process.
Sure.
I was one of those people who would get up at 3 a.m. and go travel by subway and sign up on the non-ec list. I know Kelsey was too. Like, because we saw each other at many of those auditions, but like you would get up so early and sit in line until 5, until the monitor says, okay, thanks so much, ladies. We're not going to see non-equity today. So I definitely felt like I had put the work in, but it really got to change, being seen for these huge companies and starting getting, playing in a different arena too. I started being able to go in for Broadway projects and got an agent. Not to say that you can't do that without your card, but
You can.
it just, there's different, different around everything. But I think it's definitely changed the type of projects I'm going in for and the type of arenas I'm playing in.
And how about you, Kelsey?
Yeah, I think my situation was a little bit different, but also like Liz, right place, right time. Simply because I went to Stevens Point, and I wouldn't have gotten my card when I did had I not had that connection from school. Had that faculty member not said, "Hey, I'm doing this show. I think you'd be right for it." I wouldn't have auditioned for that show because the auditions were in New York. And I would have, gone back to Quisisana, which I've done, and then just like saved some money and moved to New York. But even then, even though it was a huge blessing, I will say, to take my card at 22, and so that would have been the summer of 2012, and move to New York and be able to get in the room. It was also hard because I had nothing on my resume. All I had was college, and then the one show that gave me my card, and no one knew me. No one knew my name. I was auditioning for the first time. And it took me a year and a half of auditioning before I got a call back for anything. And then after that, the first show that I booked from a New York City audition was in 2014. So it actually brought me home, but also a huge blessing, because it was the first show that I got to do, the first gig I booked from auditioning. But like Liz said, it takes time. You have to build who you are in the city, and be confident in not just who you are, but what you do and what you do well. And I think, something for me that like keeps me moving is like, for everything that I can do well, there are 50 girls who can do it just as good, if not better. And so you have to keep honing in on your craft, and just be confident that you're what they're going to want. Mm-hmm. And in the realm of like the disappointment of like, not if you don't get an audition, or you don't get a call back, or you don't book. Something I learned in college was from our lovely professor, Tyler Marchant, who is a very wise man. And he, the first day of acting class, my sophomore year, there was a lot of disappointment from the sophomore class in casting. And we went in, and he ripped us a new one, but said, guys, there are so many elements to casting that are out of your control. Your job as an actor is to prepare well and to perform well. Yeah. And that is out of your hands. And as long as you've done that, you can't go wrong. But just because you don't get a callback or you don't get cast in a show does not mean that you are not right for that show. It just means that you are not right for that particular director's vision of that show.
Totally.
So you keep on keeping on, but it helped me professionally to stay sane when I don't book something that I really want. Regardless, you will be disappointed, but it helps you move on just a little bit faster. You're like, well, I did my best, and on to the next one.
Yeah. I think on that note, I would recommend for every person in the arts, if they are able to, have an experience sitting behind the table during casting. If you can volunteer as a monitor, if you can help out with auditions, be a reader, it really was eye-opening many times, and still is continually. But I'm like, oh, why didn't that person get it? Oh, because that guy is an inch taller than the other. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Or they have a contract. Oh, they've known the director for 20 years. Oh, they have blah, 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 blah. You know, there's just so many other variables. And I think as much as we can continue to remind ourselves of those variables and just say, okay, I did what and as Kelsey said, I am well prepared and I performed well.
Yeah, exactly.
You do, you know, but if you are able to have that experience, definitely it is a really great learning tool for us.
It really helps you just not get into your head so much, which is so easy for us to do.
It's a scary place in that head.
Yeah.
It's a scary place.
Also, I think a lot of times as actors, you know I'm guilty of this, but you know, we go into the audition room and instead of just trusting like ourselves and our craft and our storytelling, I've fallen victim to this, and I know many have, but we change our performance because we try to be what they want us to be, instead of just doing what we do well and trusting that that is enough. And it sounds very cliche because I know in college, like, it was always like, be the best you and you are enough. And like, we'd laugh and say, you know, that's cliche and blah, 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 blah. But it is so true. Like, you have to be you. They don't want you to be a version of anyone else other than yourself.
Because you bring that special quality to the character. It would be your version of it. And you are the only thing that you really have is yourself. So don't just keep changing. Be true to yourself. Harness your skills, and believe in yourself, but harness those skills, because you don't want to, you can't not have the talent.
Right.
When you become equity, like you just said, it can be a double-edged sword. It has to be the right time. It can be, maybe like Kelsey said, too young. You should have, some people choose to go longer so they can get more experience. Because once you get into equity, you're going to have more competition.
Yeah.
There will be people who are the correct age, the correct, or the you know, that kind of stuff that you, like Elizabeth, you were saying that you have no control over.
Right.
Those things.
Yeah.
But you get more experience. And that's why, you know, doing community theater is really great when you're, you know, because you can do all those things.
Right.
And work with people who are very caring and loving. When you get into commercial theater, I mean, where there is, you know, big money involved, that's a whole nother set of dynamics.
Yeah.
So I mean, good luck that you got agents too. I mean, you know, that's sometimes can help, but you still have to be on the ball.
Right.
Don't you? You can't rely on the agent.
Yeah.
Right?
No. I mean, and I have a wonderful agent, but I think, you know, you still are working and you still are, you know, maybe he's helping with 5% or more. I mean, probably way more than I actually know, but like, you know, I know he's doing his job of putting me out for these auditions and, you know, submitting me for all of these things, and he's holding up his end of the bargain. And then I also have to hold up my end, which is I have to still know the shows out there that I'm right for. I have to make sure I'm flagging to him, hey, I saw that this is going out on tour. Are there any, you know, am I able to audition for it? Or can I do a video submission? Or, hey, I think I'm, you know, right for this role. Do you have any packets so I can just put stuff on tape just in case that opportunity comes at one point or another, you know? So we both have to do our jobs and kind of hold up.
That's just your job.
Yeah.
Actor. It's not just doing the performance, the show. It's keeping
Wouldn't
yourself.
that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice to just be like, here's a show.
Could you imagine being, can you imagine being in Mamma Mia from the very beginning, and or Cats, it's like 20 years, or even Les Mis,
Yeah, being like a Les Mis or Wicked Lifer. That sounds lovely.
I mean, oh my gosh. Yeah, I knew somebody put his kid through college because he was in a show for 20 years. It was Mamma Mia.
Amazing.
But anyway, so Liz, tell me, because you were talking about, you have different directors that are there casting you, and you all agree you cannot predict, you cannot begin to believe that you know what they want. So how was it? You did Lizzie in Baby for different directors.
And both were really wonderful and lovely and amazing. Truly.
How was that?
So I took notes on the questions just in case that I remembered and jogged my memory, because I hilariously have a really bad memory. But thanks, lines. But I've actually done a couple shows where, like Eponine and Les Mis, where I've done it twice. I performed Olive Ostrovsky 3 times for 2 different directors at 3 different theaters with 3 different casts. And same with Lizzie. I'd done Baby in college as a different character of Pam, and then booked Arizona Broadway Theater and play-by-play. So I've actually had a lot of opportunities to do shows multiple times with multiple casts. And I think it's been a true learning experience for me. And I was a lot worse at it when it first happened. I remember being like, that's not what we did last time. And like, well, why, when this is the way it works? And like, this is what, throw that out the window. Like, I think what's so exciting, and as a director too, and I know this being married to one, but it's just as exciting for them to step into a new show and create this new world. And, even when there's such set parameters, like in Les Mis and with more traditional musical theater, I think it's a wonderful and incredible experience as an actor to be able to say, okay, that experience that I had at Arizona Broadway Theater's Baby, my Lizzie was way different than it was at Play-by-Play. And it's the same material, it's the same songs, I'm doing the same role. Yes! Yes, those mom pants. Oh, I loved those. Oh, that's so cute. Gross for kissing. I think my dad had that bag for like bowling.
I still have the jacket.
Oh yeah, Greg still has a jacket downstairs.
That
But I think it's so different going through all of these shows and looking at it through this new lens and this, the opportunity to work with my husband was amazing and wonderful, and one that that was our first time working opposite each other.
Yeah.
Never again. No, just kidding. No, it was real. It was just like, you can't compare them. And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's what you have to keep in mind as an actor or as someone who is revisiting a show. Don't compare them and let it be this whole different, new, wonderful experience. Still prepare. And you can bring in that, I remember for Spelling Bee, not to go off on like a crazy tangent, but there is a very specific tempo in one of the songs. Can't remember the name, of course, but it's so specific.
Yeah.
And I remember
slowing down.
Yeah, and I remember Galloway Stevens directed it first, and then I worked with Scott Beats out in Sierra Repertory Theater. And I was like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. Everything's going to be okay. And then Scott one day goes, Liz, can you just tell me how this is supposed to go? I was like, yes, I can. See, that's like, you wanna, there's a very fine, like, no one should ever do that until you're asked or whatever. But I think it was, At any rate, it's just it's an amazing experience, but one that you should not compare to one another, just because it's, I don't know.
Well, that's very interesting too, is because when you do those shows, why would one want to do it exactly the same?
Hello, we've all seen those like revivals that are copy paste of exactly what's been done before, and they're fine and they're lovely, and like,
Yeah.
the show, sure. Yeah. Did I see a version of West Side Story? Great, it was wonderful. The performers did a nice job.
Yeah,
but I would rather see something that is turned on its head and completely new, or like, I mean, I don't know. I guess that's me too.
Well,
and it might be different for other people.
I read something recently. I don't know when it was or who said it, but a show shouldn't be directed, or a director shouldn't be directing a show if they don't start with a vision for it in the first place, right? And I think that's the same thing as like an actor going back into that role. It's like your understanding of the character will deepen, but like the world should still stay as malleable as any world that you're going to go in as that character, right? The reality of it can change and shift, but how you react to it is going to be how you understand that character. And I think that goes on a director too, of like, you should have a vision of why you're doing the show, why you're telling the story. And if you do, then no two shows will ever be the same, because it'll always come from this vision from the director, but also a collective vision of that company, you know? So I think that's why it's great to go see shows 2 or 3 times with different casts, you know, instead of just the mind frame of, oh, I've seen the show, I don't need to see it again. You know, that's why we go to theater.
No, that's why you go.
To learn more, or to see something new and different and alive in that moment. So
yes. Now I'm going to come back to you to talk about how you transition into directing. But with this thing about doing a show that you've done it over and over, I want to talk now to Kelsey about the tour that you were on, and having to do the show, you know, so many performances and understudying and on the road and stuff. Please, dear, talk to me.
Okay. I guess I know I talked a little bit about caroling, because I know the question was just like about experience. And so I wanted to kind of just backtrack a little bit about the audition process for the show that I was on, because it is very applicable to where but I actually so as an actor, we go through dry spells where like we might be working consistently and then have nothing, right? And so that actually happened to me, where I had back-to-back gigs and was very lucky. And then in 2017, I had one show at the beginning of the year and then wasn't booking anything. I was like getting callback after callback and nothing was falling in place. And so I ended up doing a cruise ship to just travel and make some money, pay off my student loans. And I got off the ship on Super Bowl Sunday of 2018. And I flew back to Wisconsin the next day and had a phone call from my agent saying, hey, can you get me a video for Fontaine by Thursday? So I'm in Wisconsin. I don't have I don't have a rehearsal space to go to, which normally what would happen in New York, but also if I was in New York, I would be going in person to audition. And so I called up a good friend, Paulson, who was very, 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 very lovely and so patient, and just, he was like there at the drop of a hat, which was great. And so we literally taped, I had already made plans to go to Kentucky to see my sister because I had missed Christmas. So I literally got back late Wednesday night. We got together and taped on Thursday morning, and I submit my video by Thursday afternoon, and I had a call back by Thursday night. So it was like, it was really cool. But right now, like video, that's how, you know, we have to book those submissions. And so I flew back to New York Sunday night, and then had a series of auditions for the role of Fantine. Melissa Mitchell, who originated it on the tour, was leaving, and I felt really good. I prepared well, I performed well, and unfortunately it didn't fall into place. And so I went about my business. I went back to catering and auditioning, and then they actually brought me in a month later for female ensemble with a Madame Thénardier cover, which is very strange for me because I don't necessarily see myself in that role. But I was like, you know what? Like, they
Say
like
yes to the work. Yeah.
I was like, they like me, and they are trying to find a spot for me. So that's like a huge compliment. And so I went in and had a lot of fun playing with the material and singing the ensemble stuff. And that was in March, and then nothing. And so I just like went about my business. I actually signed back on to do a cruise ship to pay off the rest of my student loans. And I had finished the rehearsal process. I was 3 days away from boarding the ship. This was July of 2018. 3 days away from boarding the ship, and my agent called, and they had offered me the track that I'm in now, which is a female ensemble, as the wig maker. I didn't have a cover at the time, and so luckily, I was working for RWS, for Holland America, and they were so understanding. And I flew to Barcelona to open 2 of the shows on the ship, and then my replacement came, and then I joined the tour of September of 2018.
That's crazy.
And it was 5 weeks into the tour, and one of the Fantine covers had put in her notice. And so that was actually, I have lipstick on my teeth, wow. That was my debut in Minneapolis, actually, which was a nice early Christmas gift. But I was 5 weeks in. One of the Fantine covers had put in her notice, and I was asked to re-audition for it. And I re-auditioned with 3 other girls in the cast, and was very fortunate to be given the cover. And so I went under it was like a week and a half maybe of rehearsals. And then we had a put in for that. And I wasn't scheduled. I didn't have a scheduled debut, but we were in Minneapolis actually. And Kent Paulson happened to be playing in the pit for us for like an entire week. Not that night. Which was fun. But our resident director at the time, Liam, came up to me. I had just gotten off the barricade. I'm one of the 2 women that stays, and I fight with the guys, and I die on the barricade.
Yeah.
I got off the barricade, and I got back to my spot in Gondola Village, and our resident director, Liam, came up to me and said, hey, Kate's not feeling well, and I know we had another put-in scheduled for you. So my initial put-in, my wigs had come, but my costumes weren't there yet. So they had a second put-in scheduled for me so I could use the costumes as well. And he goes, I know we haven't had that, but I think you're ready. So we'd love to have you go on tonight. So I had about 2 hours between shows to review everything.
Wow.
It felt like being shot out of a cannon, and I was terrified. And I had stage fright. I was terrified. And the cast was so supportive. Our Valjean at the time, it was his rush show, so I was going on with an understudy who I happened to rehearse with all the time. So there was a little bit of familiarity and a comfortability there that just made me feel safe. But you could feel the love from the company as well. So that was exciting. But that was that picture. That was my debut. So it was right before, it was 3 or 4 days before Christmas. So that was a nice little gift for me. But, life on the road, it's unlike anything else, I will say. The traveling is so wonderful. You get to see so many places across the United States, and little towns that we would go to that I would be I didn't even know that this place existed, but it ended up being a really cute town. Someplace like Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I know that that's a town, but It's a little town, but it's super cute. So you get to see a lot, but it definitely, there's a different way of life and your day-to-day prep, I will say, than being in like a normal regional gig, at least for me and for this show. This show is one of the most physical shows I've ever been a part of. It is 3 hours of singing. There's no talking. So you really have to be vocally warm every day and take care of your instrument, because if you can't sing, you can't do your job, which means you can't do the show, and then you're out of work. So you call out sick, you miss shows, and things like that. So there's that element. You have to physically be prepared. My ensemble track, but also my cover track, are both very physical. Fontaine has two very intense stage fights. And then in the ensemble, I stay on the barricade and I use 15-pound muskets with the boys, and I shoot and I die. And it's, it takes a toll on your body. So you really have to be listening and taking care of yourself in every way, and being prepared physically, vocally, but then also mentally for the show. Everybody knows Les Mis. It's long. It's a beautiful show, but as an actor, and I'm sure Liz and Greg can relate to this, but like sometimes you fall into the trap of autopilot, and you're not even paying attention or staying present in the show. You're just it's just coming out of your body, whether you're like thinking about it or not. And so you have to be aware and be present that you're not doing that, and find new ways to make the same show and the same material and the same blocking and the same props and different things new, exciting every day, so that you don't fall into that trap. And it can be hard, especially when you're on traveling. So we just do 1 week sit downs. And so we open on a Tuesday night, we close on a Sunday night, and then our travel day / day off is Monday. And then we open again on Tuesday in the next city. So really taking the time to yourself to your 1 day off, even though you're traveling, is your reset day. So yeah, it's a lot, but it's when you love it enough, it doesn't feel like a job. It doesn't feel like work. And I think Liz had touched on this earlier. But once it feels like work, then that's when you need to just take a day off. And we have sick days are for when you're sick, but we have personal days, and you can take a personal day. But your sick days are also it's not just your physical health, but your mental health. If you're man, I am bogged down right now and I'm not doing my job to the best of my ability, I need a day away. That's what those days are for. And you are more than welcome to take them. And people are understanding. And we have swings for that. So our swings know all the tracks in the show and our covers. And there's ways to make shows work. And I'll say we were talking about doing the same role or same show, but with different directors. And on that note, a long running tour also has, I came in as a replacement. So, but then in my time, I've been with the show for almost 2 years. And we've had a lot of new people come in, including recently 3 new principals. Our Valjean, our Javert, and our Madame T are all new. And they're all lovely. But along those same lines, not being stuck in this has to be done. It's not just the director, but when you have new actors coming in and doing a role that someone else has done for so long, you have to be open to their interpretation of it as well, and the energy that they are going to bring, because it's going to be different. It's still going to be amazing, but it's going to be different. And so it keeps you on your toes. And it's the same when our swings are on. Our swings are going to do things different from the normal people, but it keeps you it shakes up the energy, and it makes it fun and exciting, and those new ways to create and play.
Yeah.
She's fresh. And as you so aptly pointed out, is that as the actor, you have to take care of yourself, vocally, particularly with these, with musicals, when you have to sing, and physically, and mentally, because when it happens fast. You have to be ready, whether you're on the tour and you're going to fill in for somebody, or they're going to call you with a contract and you got to start the next day. You just have to be ready, or the rehearsal period is a short period of time. Take care of yourself. Now, she was talking about the shooting on the barricade. Yeah, look for her for help.
And having her fights.
Her fights. So, Greg, you are a fight choreographer.
Wow, look at that.
Boom. Look at that. Segue.
So we're going to go a little longer than an hour because I want to know about this. And then you transitioning into directing. So, and this fight choreography, it's going to be impacted now with the new post-pandemic protocol, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Choreography for a sec.
Yeah. So in my undergrad, it was a class that we could take, and then there was an advanced course that had an adjudicator from New York come in, J. Allen Sudduth, and he would certify people. And certification for stage combat is pass or fail. So you either get it or you don't get it. So I had a couple weapon skills that I certified through that. And I used it as, we all have our special skills that we offer along with being able to act or sing or dance. And I would use that with my contracts. I would offer when I was doing Oklahoma, hey, I can be, a fight captain and help you out with this if you need extra eyes on it. And I just kept on offering it until people started asking me to come in specifically and do it. In 2008, I was the resident company fight director for Playhouse on the Square in Memphis, Tennessee. I started doing summer camps there, helping them out with their summer camp structure and routine to have some fight direction in it as well. And then when I went back to school at Stella Adler Studio in New York, I got recertified in a bunch of weapons, learned a bunch more, and then started with a company called Neutral Chaos, which is down in Brooklyn. And I'm certified in like 6 out of 8 weapon skills right now, and been directing for like 6 to 8 years, something like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's needed, especially in some of the more classical stuff. So
when you direct Shakespeare.
Yeah. So there it is. So that was Hamlet last year.
That's a weapon.
And I played Laertes, but I was also the fight director for it. And so I got to do the big rapier fight, and I choreographed that at the end of the show between myself and Hamlet. It's great because it's like you were saying, that you have to adapt. Everybody has different skill sets, and they come to this differently. Some people are cast with or without that skill set, and you have to be able to know how to take somebody and it's teaching them something from scratch. Some people are going to come in and go, oh, I got this, boom, boom, boom. And some people are like, can we go back, a little bit and slow down? Sure. But as a director, I think I always go in from the acting standpoint first, which is why I also became a director from fight directing, is that looking at it from the character arc and the story arc, as opposed to, I'm just going to make a bunch of choreography and then throw it on top of the story, where you just have to learn moves. I want it to come out of the thought process of where you are as that character in that moment. Yeah. So, and once I started thinking, more like that, I was like, oh, I could direct an entire play. So for the past couple of years, I was like, let's try it out. So I started directing full-length plays. So it's been great. Yeah.
And that's terrific. So are you doing more directing? Is that where you see your career possibly going to, or? It's
so interesting. I some days yes, and then some days no. Like
you're too young. You're still too young. You got
well, it's like
all kids.
In February, this past February, I was offered, or January, I was offered to be a part of Measure for Measure and play Claudio. It's a role that I've wanted to play for a while. It's such a gut wrencher. Yeah, like I love it. So I was like, yep, all right, let's do it. And then I was the fight captain on that show. And then right after it, I directed Midsummer. So it's like, I kind of take the opportunity where it is. Like, if I'm going to teach, then I go teach. If I'm going to direct, I direct, fight, direct, act, like whatever you want to throw at me, I'm going to take for right now and do it. So.
Well, and the other day when we were chatting with Shanna, who's a choreographer, she started talking about how that is obviously already changed like everything else is, but how it's going to have to change when we can do productions again. You can't just lift someone up. You can't just twirl them. So obviously that's going to have to change with some fight choreography as well.
See,
Sure.
you can't do this. Because I've been living with her for weeks.
So I can definitely do it to this one. So there we go.
Well, you guys, I am so glad that the three of you were amenable to coming and sharing your stories with us. And this is just wonderful. You all three are so wonderful to work with. And you come prepared.
I gotta show this one too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you guys.
Speaking of working with, right?
And that's a role I've done with a few Patsies. I've done multiple times as well. It's different.
Oh my gosh.
Wendy Dolan gave me that.
There you go. Love it.
Oh my gosh. But you guys, all three of you come prepared and you're open-minded. And you're positive, and you bring a lot to the table. You're 100% committed to do your best work, which has got to be the best at that time, and that's really inspiring. I think the future of theater is in good hands.
Yes.
What do you think?
I agree.
Yeah.
So perhaps sometime, Greg, we can get you out here to direct a Shakespeare-ish. We have.
Absolutely.
As much as I do love directing Shakespeare, I know I'll need a break at some point.
There you go.
When you need a break, you call me.
I love.
Yeah, we'll get you. I hope you all can come back here to perform. But it's so wonderful that you are so true to your roots and you appreciate where you came from.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you. We appreciate you to the moon and back.
We do.
Oh,
Yeah, we love you too.
See you all.
Good luck, everybody, with the future.
There we go.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you.
Stay safe.
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, I love them.
Thank you, Kelsey. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Greg. We love you guys. Stay well. Stay safe. Thank you all for tuning in. Tomorrow is our last Q&A. This has given us a reason to put on makeup and do our hair.
You can tell I did my hair today.
So we hope you'll join us tomorrow at 1. Our guest is Mary Murfitt, playwright, composer, lyricist, awesome person. She was also in a play-by-play show with us.
Yeah.
Until then, stay well, stay safe, and if you are able to help support the arts at this time, we invite you to make a donation, no matter how small, to your favorite local performing arts group or arts organization. Thank you all so much, and have a great day.
Bye, everyone.